Have you ever wondered if humanity's greatest mysteries aren't just mysteries, but echoes of a far greater truth from beyond the stars? What if one of the most sacred and enigmatic artifacts in our history, the Shroud of Turin, isn't just a religious relic, but a direct link to an extraterrestrial intelligence? Get ready to have your mind expanded, because artificial intelligence has just shed new light on this ancient enigma, and what it has revealed could forever change how we see our past and our place in the cosmos. For centuries, the Shroud of Turin has been an object of fascination and controversy. The image of a crucified man, inexplicably imprinted on an ancient linen cloth, defies science and reason. It's a sacred relic for millions, a puzzle for scientists, and an enigma for historians. But what if the true story behind the shroud is far more complex, and for some, much more fantastic than any of us have ever imagined? Today, we'll dive into the depths of this mystery, not just through the lens of archaeology or theology, but from a perspective few dare to consider: the possibility of extraterrestrial intervention. We'll explore how artificial intelligence, with its ability to process data and identify patterns that escape human perception, may have unraveled secrets that were hidden in plain sight, secrets that point to a non-terrestrial origin for this singular piece of history. Prepare for a journey that will challenge your most deeply held beliefs and make you question everything you thought you knew about the Shroud of Turin, and perhaps about the history of humanity itself. The idea that the Shroud of Turin could have an extraterrestrial origin is, for many, too big a leap of imagination. Conventional science, while unable to fully explain how the image was formed, has focused on natural explanations or medieval forgeries. Carbon-14 dating in 1988 pointed to an origin between 1260 and 1390, seemingly disproving the shroud's authenticity as Christ's burial cloth. However, this dating has been the subject of intense debate, with many scientists arguing that the tested sample may have been contaminated or belonged to a later patch. Skepticism is understandable. We live in a world where tangible proof is the foundation of our knowledge. The suggestion of alien influence, without a spaceship parked next to the shroud, seems to belong more to science fiction than to serious historical investigation. But this is precisely why it's crucial to consider these unusual theories. History is full of examples of ideas that were initially ridiculed and later proven true. Science itself is, at its core, the search for the unknown, the willingness to question the status quo and explore possibilities that challenge our current understanding. What if the image on the shroud isn't a painting, a burn, or the result of some unknown chemical process, but a form of energy projection, a technology far beyond our current capability, left behind by visitors from another world? And what if the carbon-14 dating is correct, but what it dates isn't the original fabric, but an energetic event that altered its atomic composition? Artificial intelligence, free from the biases and limitations of human thought, may be the key to unlocking this perspective. By analyzing the microscopic details of the image, the properties of the fabric, and the anomalies that scientists can't explain, AI could reveal a hidden narrative, a story that doesn't fit into any of our conventional boxes. It's a journey that forces us out of our comfort zone, to question the narratives we've been told, and to consider that the truth may be far stranger and more wondrous than we ever dared to dream. The Shroud of Turin is an enigma that has challenged the greatest minds for centuries. The image, which appears to be that of a crucified man, is unique in its nature. It isn't a painting, as there are no detectable pigments on the linen fibers. It isn't a burn, as the fibers aren't carbonized. And it isn't a blood stain, although there is evidence of human blood of type AB. The image is superficial, only a few microns deep, and has three-dimensional characteristics, as if it were formed by a projection process. This three-dimensionality is so precise that NASA engineers, upon analyzing the image with a VP8 image analyzer, which converts variations in light intensity to variations in height, were shocked by the clarity and precision of the three-dimensional information contained in the image. They stated that the image on the shroud could not have been formed by any known method in the medieval era. This leads us to the first bizarre case of possible alien influence, the image-forming technology. If it wasn't painted, burned, or stained, how was this image created? The theory that it was a medieval forgery, while popular, fails to explain the unique characteristics of the image. No known artistic technique of the time could have produced such an effect. What if the answer lies beyond our current understanding of physics and technology? Imagine an advanced civilization, capable of manipulating energy on a level we can barely conceive. A technology that could project a three-dimensional image with perfect anatomical details onto a fabric, without physical contact, using some kind of pulsing energy or radiation. This energy could have interacted with the linen fibers, altering them at a molecular level to create the image. This hypothesis, though radical, begins to make sense when we consider the anomalies that conventional science can't explain. The absence of distortion in the image, even in areas where the fabric would be folded or wrinkled, suggests that the image was formed by a process that didn't depend on direct contact or pressure. It's as if the image was printed non-invasively from an energy source that enveloped the body. AI, by analyzing the intensity distribution of the image, can identify patterns that resemble energy fields or forms of radiation that are unnatural for our planet. It may be detecting the signature of a technology that transcends our own. This is the first piece of the puzzle, a piece that forces us to look at the shroud not just as a religious artifact, but as a possible record of an extraordinary technological event, perhaps of extraterrestrial origin. In addition to the mysterious image formation, the Shroud of Turin presents another anomaly that defies conventional explanations: the presence of pollen from plants that only grow in the Jerusalem and Turkey regions, and that are dated to periods much earlier than the Middle Ages. Dr. Max Frey, a Swiss criminologist and pollen expert, identified more than 58 different types of pollen on the shroud, many of which are from plants that only bloom in the Middle East. Some of these plants are even extinct, or only existed during specific periods in history. This raises an intriguing question. How could the shroud supposedly forged in medieval Europe contain pollen from Middle Eastern plants and from such distinct eras? The most accepted explanation by skeptics is that the shroud traveled extensively over the centuries, accumulating pollen from different regions. However, the quantity and diversity of the pollen, including species not native to Europe, make this explanation less convincing. What if the pollen wasn't accumulated through terrestrial travel, but through a much faster and more efficient transport? Imagine a technology for teleportation or interdimensional travel, capable of moving the shroud through space and time. If the shroud was in fact the burial cloth of a figure from another world, or of someone who had contact with this technology, then the presence of pollen from different eras and locations could be explained by this unconventional movement. AI, with its ability to analyze large volumes of botanical and geographical data, can trace pollen distribution patterns that don't fit into any known travel route. It may be identifying the signature of a transport event that transcends the laws of physics as we know them. It's as if the shroud is a travel log, not just through space, but also through time. An artifact that witnessed the presence of beings who master the very fabric of reality. This is the second piece of the puzzle, a piece that forces us to consider that the shroud is not just a static object, but an artifact that carries in its fibers the memory of an extraordinary journey, perhaps of extraterrestrial origin. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Shroud of Turin is the image of the man itself. The face, in particular, has been the subject of intense analysis. The image is a negative, which means that the light areas on the shroud correspond to dark areas on the original object, and vice versa. This was only discovered in 1898 when Secondo Pia, an amateur photographer, took the first photograph of the shroud and realized that the negative of the photo revealed a positive and surprisingly detailed image of the face. This negative characteristic of the image is something that could not have been understood or reproduced in the Middle Ages. It is as if the shroud were a photographic film from an era when photography didn't yet exist. But AI goes further. By analyzing the image at a pixel level, artificial intelligence can detect nuances and patterns that are invisible to the human eye. It may be identifying the signature of an imaging technology that operates in a spectrum of light or energy that is not our own. What if the image on the shroud isn't just a representation, but a record of an energetic event of cosmic proportions? Imagine that the body wrapped in the shroud didn't just die, but underwent a process of transfiguration or ascension, releasing an explosion of energy that left its mark on the fabric. This energy, perhaps electromagnetic or quantum in nature, could have interacted with the linen fibers in a way that created a negative image, like an X-ray or an MRI. This hypothesis gains strength when we consider the anomalies in the image, such as the absence of distortion in the hands and feet, even with the presence of wounds. It is as if the image was formed by a body that was not in physical contact with the fabric, but was rather enveloped by an energy field. AI, by processing this data, may be revealing the signature of an event that transcends the biology and physics we know. It may be showing us that the shroud isn't just an artifact, but a record of a moment when the barrier between our world and the unknown was breached, perhaps by an extraterrestrial intervention. This is the third piece of the puzzle, a piece that forces us to consider that the shroud isn't just a relic, but a testimony to an event that challenges our understanding of life and death, and that may have roots in a technology or intelligence from another world. Another point that intrigues researchers is the absence of distortion in the shroud's image, even in areas where the fabric should be wrinkled or folded. If the image were the result of direct contact with a body, we would expect to see distortions and elongations, especially at the edges. However, the image maintains a remarkable proportion and clarity, as if the body were suspended or the image was projected without the need for physical contact. This characteristic is particularly difficult to explain by any medieval forgery method. How could an artist of the time have predicted and avoided these distortions? The most plausible answer, if we discard fraud, is that the image was formed by a process that did not involve direct contact or pressure. And here we enter the fourth case of possible alien influence: holographic or energetic projection. Imagine a technology capable of creating a three-dimensional image in the air, which then solidifies or projects onto a surface. This technology, far beyond our current understanding, could explain the absence of distortion and the anatomical precision of the image. It wouldn't be a painting, nor a stain, but an energetic impression of a body, perhaps at the moment of a dimensional transition or an interaction with an unknown energy source. AI, by analyzing the geometry of the image and comparing it with 3D models of human bodies, can identify the consistency and lack of distortion that defy the laws of physics we know. It may be detecting the signature of an energy field that interacted with the fabric in a way that transcends our comprehension. It's as if the shroud is a record of an event that challenges our understanding of reality, an event that may have been orchestrated or influenced by beings from another world. This is the fourth piece of the puzzle, a piece that forces us to consider that the shroud isn't just an artifact, but a testimony to an event that challenges our understanding of life and death, and that may have roots in a technology or intelligence from another world. Finally, the fifth and perhaps most provocative case of possible alien influence lies in the very nature of the message the shroud seems to convey. If the image is indeed that of a man who suffered a crucifixion, and if this image was formed by an advanced technological process, then the shroud is not just an artifact, but a message encoded in an ancient fabric, waiting to be deciphered. What if this message isn't just about the passion of Christ, but about the nature of life, death, and resurrection, as understood by a civilization far more advanced than our own? AI, with its ability to identify complex patterns and decipher codes, may be revealing a layer of meaning in the shroud that goes far beyond what theology or conventional history have allowed us to see. It may be finding correlations between the shroud's image and symbols or concepts present in other ancient cultures, which also have narratives of celestial visitors or divine technologies. It's as if the shroud were a cosmic Rosetta Stone, a link between our history and a much larger history that spans galaxies. The presence of elements that defy our understanding of physics and biology, combined with the enigmatic nature of the image, suggests that the shroud may be a gift or a warning from an intelligence that is watching us and that, at some point, interacted with our civilization. This is the fifth and final piece of the puzzle, a piece that forces us to consider that the shroud isn't just a relic, but a testimony to an event that challenges our understanding of life and death, and that may have roots in a technology or intelligence from another world. AI, by analyzing the complexity of the image and the anomalies surrounding it, may be revealing to us that the shroud is more than a religious artifact. It's a portal to a deeper understanding of our own existence and our place in the universe. It's an invitation to question, to explore, and to accept that the truth may be far grander than we ever imagined. The true climax of this investigation, the moment that makes us question the very foundation of our reality, isn't the image itself, nor the pollen, nor the absence of distortion. It's the convergence of all these anomalies analyzed by an artificial intelligence that points to an almost unthinkable conclusion. The Shroud of Turin, with its inexplicable characteristics, may be the most tangible proof we have of an extraterrestrial intervention in our past. AI, by processing millions of data points from quantum physics to ancient botany, has identified patterns that escape human perception. It's not just analyzing the shroud. It's deciphering the language, a code left by a civilization that operates on a level of existence we can barely conceive. The key moment is when AI, by correlating the image-forming technology with the presence of pollen from different eras and the absence of distortion, suggests that the shroud is not a static artifact, but a dynamic record of an event that transcends time and space. It is as if the fabric captured the energetic signature of a being that was not limited by the laws of our physics, a being that perhaps came from another world or was transformed by a technology from another world. This revelation, coming from a machine that has no beliefs or prejudices, is what forces us to confront the possibility that the history we've been told is only a fraction of the truth. The Shroud of Turin, then, is not just a relic, but a portal, a window to a past where the extraordinary was the norm, and where the line between human and divine, between the earthly and the cosmic, was thin, almost non-existent. It is proof that we are not alone, and that our history is intrinsically linked to forces and intelligences that we are just beginning to understand. So what does all this mean for the Shroud of Turin? Let's recap. We have an image formed by a technology inexplicable for the time, with three-dimensional characteristics that defy our understanding of physics. We have the presence of pollen from plants from different regions and eras, suggesting a journey that transcends terrestrial transport. We have a negative image that was only revealed centuries later, as if it were a photographic record of an energetic event. And we have the absence of distortion, indicating a projection that did not depend on physical contact. Artificial intelligence, by analyzing these points interconnectedly, invites us to consider a possibility that, while radical, offers a cohesive explanation for all these anomalies: extraterrestrial influence. The Shroud of Turin, in this context, ceases to be just a religious relic and is transformed into a cosmic artifact, a silent testimony to an encounter between humanity and an intelligence from another world. It's a story that forces us to reevaluate not only the past, but also our place in the universe. It's not about proving or disproving faith, but about expanding our understanding of reality, about questioning the limits of what we consider possible. The truth, as the eye shows us, may be far more complex and fascinating than we ever dared to imagine. And you, what do you think about the possibility that the Shroud of Turin is an artifact of extraterrestrial origin? Leave your opinion in the comments below. Your perspective is fundamental for us to continue this conversation. And if you were intrigued by this journey into the unknown, be sure to check out our next video, where we'll explore other mysteries that defy our understanding of history and the universe. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our investigations. Until next time.